Yes, yes.
Yep.
Live from the dog days of summer in America. It's an American summer. I wonder how many people are outside.
It's literally 100 where I'm at.
No, don't give me this fucking excuses, Midwesterner. I've seen the people who live around you. Those people don't go outside, bro.
I've been outside all week.
I mean, they're physically unable. Most of them. You're the weird skinny guy. You're not like them.
How do you go to Walmart?
Right. Enough with my classism and my fat phobia.
Yeah, please, chat. Forgive Thaddeus Russell. He can't help that he was born in California.
It's true. Ugh. Although right now, of course, I live in one of the worst places in the world to live. I mean, I tell people now, don't even visit. I mean, even for tourists, I think San Francisco is like totally not worth it. But anyway, that's a different story. So is the mugshot out?
Not the Trump one, but hashtag Trump mugshot is trending. We've got Sidney Powell mugshots. We've got Rudy Giuliani mugshots. So it's Christmas for MSNBC.
But he's surrendering today, right?
Yeah, at any moment.
I saw the motorcade headed to the airport, which was headed to Atlanta. So any moment, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get the moment, in a sense, all of us have been waiting for, because even like pro-Trump people are going to be kind of excited about this. The moment we've been waiting for since about 2016, which is seeing Donald Trump in a mugshot.
Yeah, people of all political sides are going to get it tattooed. It's going to be the #1 political T-shirt of forever.
I mean, this image will replace like the Marines on Iwo Jima planting the flag. Like, it'll replace the moon landing. It'll replace everything. Like what? Right?
Mm-hmm.
The Zeppelin blowing up, that image, that it's all going to be all the classic iconic images in world history will be replaced any second now.
And it's going to be the classic album cover for all those MAGA rappers.
Now, here's the big question. And this actually, I was sitting there staring at Giuliani's mugshot right next to Jenna Ellis's mugshot. And Jenna's got this big cheesy grin on her face. Not grin, like a Fox News smile, like an anchor smile, full toothy smile. And Rudy's like this. I mean, he kind of has that natural grimace, which we used to take when I was living in New York and he was the mayor, as kind of the resting fascist face. Just sort of his natural inclination was to be like, but these days, the dude's got some legitimate grievances. He has some reason. By the way, I've heard many reports that Giuliani's really broke, and is like, apparently his financial issues have become a major part of this in various ways. Like, so that's something to keep an eye on. But but I was looking at him grimacing and her smiling in the camera, and I'm thinking, and just looking at it and thinking, wow, this is so different. Such a different approach to this. Now, on one hand, it is simply a tactical question, right? What's the most effective way to present oneself in this horrible situation? What's going to be the best message to make? And what's his face from Texas, Rick, ran for president, energy secretary, was Rick Perry.
Yeah, Rick Perry.
Perry had a mugshot, and he did a big grin. He did the big politician smile. And some people think that was a W. I don't know. I'm thinking where I'm going with this is, what's Trump going to do?
Yeah, we should start a gambling line on it right now.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm thinking, like, what is the smile or the not smile signifying? And I think there's something about one's relationship to the state in that decision, where one goes. Like, unless you can very clearly signal that it's a satirical Joker-like smile, right? But if it just looks, if it's your standard politician Fox News smile, then to me, what you're signaling is respect. Respect to the system. Respect toward the state. I guess. I don't know. Maybe
like
not.
An officer gives you a ticket and you say thank you, like that.
Yeah, but like even being more, what's the word, right?
Deferential or
Supplicant, something like that. Yeah, deferential. Yeah. Sort of expressing it's it's the expression of affection toward your oppressors. It's what Martin Luther King would do. It's what he would counsel.
Mhm.
It's very much part of, I think, passive resistance, which was, remember, not just an acceptance of the existing power structure, but it was a request to be included within it. That's what the civil rights movement, that's what passive resistance was all about. You know, sitting in the street and waiting to get arrested, nonviolent disobedience, the whole famous tactic strategy that King came up with. That was about being included in the system, right? If you use violence against the system, you will not, you're kind of like precluding inclusion into it. You will simply, you're going to go to war with it. They're going to try to kill you. It's now a mortal conflict. There's no inclusion going on, right? The kind of passive resistance, which is expressing not just respect, but love. And that's actually the word that King used. And to me, that's what the smile is saying to me. I don't know. There's some sort of affectionate relationship with authority that signifies. And to me, like, so it's very strange though, Giuliani grimacing like that. I mean, he wasn't just a blank, it's not just a blank expression. He's like, fuck you.
Well, he's been such an establishment guy for so long that I'm super surprised that he's actually being arrested and implicated in all this.
I mean, not just that, he's, hello, mayor, law and order. People have forgotten who Rudy Giuliani was for almost 2 decades, not just in New York politics, but in national politics. And I lived there through his entire administration as mayor. I was there when he was a prosecutor as well. And I was there when he ran for president. I know this cat. And like, he was Mr. Law and Order, Mr. Deference to the state, Mr. Respect the United States of America, wear a flag at all times. I mean, cops are always right. The prisons are undercrowded, he would say, basically, and he would fill them up. He put more people in prison probably than anybody else in this country, except for Joe Biden. I mean, but like personally had a hand in the incarceration of people. Like that's Rudy's the champion. I mean, he was a prosecutor. That's what he did for many years. He put dudes in prison. And as mayor, sort of one level removed, put even more. That's when mass incarceration took off. Much of that was led by New York City and Rudy. But anyway, so right. So it's, to me, I'm like, wait, dude, aren't you disrespecting the system? And I think he is. And I think what Rudy Giuliani is signaling with that is that he's a revolutionary now.
Now, yeah. He has to be. He's been forced to be that.
He's a revolutionary.
I think the other smiles are kind of tongue in cheek, though.
No, I think he's signaling that he's living within a hostile regime. You know, I mean, and like really signaling that. Now that's a very serious thing. That means, everybody, that at least one portion of the ruling class of this country, because Rudy Giuliani was absolutely clearly a major portion of the ruling class of this country. He got elected mayor of New York with a whole lot of liberal votes. Had to. New York mayor, you have to get lots of liberals. So he had some bipartisan consensus. After 9/11, all my lefty friends in New York loved him. He got pretty close to winning the Republican nomination for president. He was America's mayor. He was America's mayor. And CNN said that about him. Democrats said that about him. For that guy to be saying with his face that I am being held captive by a hostile regime. This is no longer my country. I am no longer loyal to it. That means the revolution's actually started. Like on a certain level. I mean, I now think that, and for good reason, after 4 indictments of their guy for clearly nothing, clearly banana republic shit, I think a large portion of MAGA, which includes people like Rudy Giuliani, have broken, I think, the last shred of loyalty to the United States of America. I mean, now they, of course, are American patriots in that they want to return to what they imagine was, the previous regime, but they are certainly disloyal to the USA as it exists at the moment. I think like that's their feeling, is my point. Yeah. That's a revolutionary space. And I can't believe, I mean, and I can't believe it's Rudy Giuliani. They're holding Rudy Giuliani captive. A hostile regime has taken over the country this guy loved and served with his life. Could have made a whole lot more money on Wall Street. Whole lot more money. But he didn't. He kept throwing his head. And I hate the guy. Fuck him. He's a fascist. He is a fascist. He kept throwing his head against the politics over and over again. Smashing his head against politics over and over again. For shit money, which I guess now he's like literally paying for, because he can't afford the legal costs of this stuff. Your public salary, your mayoral salary, I don't know, $500,000, something like that a year. Who cares? That's poof with one of these cases in lawyers' fees. So, it's amazing what's happened here. This is, to me, that's what's happening. Jenna Ellis, look at that picture. I mean, that's not a revolutionary. There's a very clear difference. I mean, they are signaling different things. And by the way, Jenna Ellis is actually sort of anti-Trump. She's actually turned against Trump. So she's actually, I wouldn't say she's a stab. Well, I'd say she has a foot in the establishment. Yeah. Boy, the face says a lot of things. Mugshots are quite something.
Yeah,
but no, I do think this is it. I think we actually have entered. Now, being a revolutionary doesn't mean you're going to take up arms against your country. Doesn't mean you're going to try to sabotage it necessarily. What I'm saying is psychologically, these people in MAGA are now revolutionaries, and that could take many forms. But there is now a fundamental break. Yeah, right. Now, Sidney Powell has been proven to be stupid or crazy. Won't take your pick. And so I don't know what to do with her face, but or with her. I don't know what to make of her, because she hurt the MAGA, the Trump movement, more than anybody in the world by pushing hard on the Dominion story, which even Steve Bannon early on was like, by the way, people don't know this. Steve Bannon from the get-go thought Sidney Powell was wrong about the voting machines.
Yeah.
From the beginning, he said it every single day. He said, I'm not a voting machine guy. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, Jenna Ellis is not a revolutionary. Yeah, no, she still works for the empire, at least in part. And that's what happened. I mean, I think there's been a break. I think for some members of MAGA, I know this is, for people like Posobiec, my friend Joe Allen, who's been on Unregistered, who's he does the technology. He's the technology correspondent for the War Room.
Out in Montana.
Transhumanism out of Montana. Yeah, Joe's awesome. But I mean, he and I don't exactly agree on everything, but he's certainly onto some very important things. But anyway, those guys, who else? Raheem Kassam. I think for a long time, those people have been psychologically broken from the country, from the nation state,
Well, that's the whole concept of the deep state, is that there's an illegitimate shadow government of power oppressing the legit will of the people.
Yeah. So I think that's what defines what's called dark MAGA, is that psychological break, right? You really are, you are treasonous now. You just can't admit it. You can't say it, but that's in your heart. You now have a traitor's heart. And that's what they say only to each other in private. And I don't blame them one bit. And of course, the left that I grew up with, of course, we were all traitors, like openly. We would talk about revolution all the time. Now, of course, it's bad to be revolutionary, apparently. That's what the left says, because it's the wrong people who want the revolution.
They're insurrectionists, insurrectionists.
Now, I mean, the thing is, on a certain level, what I'm saying is that's true, right? Now, the people who did the stuff on January 6th, who actually committed crimes, were they, did violence, the people who did violence, were they doing it in the service of that kind of insurrection, a revolution in which the entire government is overthrown? No, I don't think so. And there's no evidence for that. But I do think some of the leaders of MAGA, and probably some of the rank and file too, do have traitorous hearts. I mean, but again, I feel that that's totally understandable and legitimate in many ways, especially given how the regime has treated them. Listen, I mean, you could make a case that the federal government of the United States has done worse things to MAGA than it did to the Black Panthers. It's certainly equivalent. I mean, they're certainly close, at least.
Same playbook for sure.
The killings of the Panthers was mostly local authorities, by the way. So the FBI, as far as I know, didn't actually pull the trigger in too many cases. I mean, they sure were happy in many cases that Panthers got shot to death, but it was like the Chicago Police Department killed Fred Hampton, etc., and guys killed in LA and here in Oakland. That was all local cops. So the FBI did a whole lot of surveillance of the Black Panthers, hostile, clearly hostile surveillance. I mean, the FBI certainly had, and the FBI had lots of agent provocateurs within the Black Panthers, as well known. Lots and lots of them. It's the same playbook. They did the same thing against the Panthers then as they did against the Klan at the time. In the 70s, a lot of people don't know this, at the very same time COINTELPRO was going against the Panthers, it was going hard against the Klan. And basically, that was when the Klan was finally, fully, completely disbanded in the 70s, because the FBI just crushed it with COINTELPRO and sent in a whole bunch of informants and double agents and people who were provocateurs, who did exactly what they did to my friend Mr. Caserta in Michigan and his colleagues, proposing these schemes to do crimes, violent crimes against blacks or politicians or whatever, and then setting these people up for a big crime. They get busted, the whole organizations get taken down. Anyway. I'm
just looking at a Charlie Daniels lyric. You may not know it, but this man's a spy. He's an undercover agent for the FBI, and he's been sent down here to infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
Just common knowledge at that point.
Right. So what did I just do? I mean, I just described what they've done to MAGA.
Yeah.
They did it. We know from the Gretchen Whitmer case in Michigan, we know for sure that's exactly what happened. And we know basically for sure that's what happened, at least in part, in January 6th. We know, I think it's pretty much confirmed at this point, right? That there were agents and informants on the ground, in the protests, on the Capitol on January 6th. And then many of them went into the building too, went into the Capitol building. So it's the same playbook, guys. Like this is, and it's, in anything, it's worse. I don't know. I can't remember a bunch of Panthers being held and without due process for, what is it now? A year and a half. I can't remember that in federal, or actually, I guess they were charged locally, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were charged by DC. That's true. But the FBI's attack, certainly, but no doubt the DC officials, did they not confer with the FBI as to what to do with these people? Of course, the FBI, I'm sure, decided what they did with those people. So it's all federal. But anyway, no, it's an incredible thing. And then the left, The Nation magazine, Mother Jones, The Progressive magazine, Democracy Now, Amy Goodman, even, what's his face? Chris, who hates pornography but is great on Ukraine, Hedges. People should look up Chris Hedges and what Noam Chomsky and Chris Hedges think about pornography. Go look that up, and you'll know everything you need to know about the left. Yeah, even I think Chris Hedges. I want to confirm this, but I don't think anybody on the left has said a thing about the people rotting in that jail in DC who are clearly political prisoners. Not a thing to this day. Please, chat, anybody, let me know on Twitter if I'm wrong. Has anybody on the left complained in any way about the United States of America holding political prisoners? Oh boy. I mean, that's the last straw. If you ever thought the left was principled.
Well, chat is saying Jimmy Dore and Glenn Greenwald, which
right.
Yeah,
of course.
No, I know. Right. On the left now.
Except, I mean, I meant the non-dissident left.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, of course, right. No, of course, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, Glarazone. Yeah, no, the dissident left, of course, has been awesome on this. But although, I mean, even they could be a little bit louder. I think Jimmy Dore's been pretty good on it. But, in general, listen, if it were like, how many is it? I don't know. How many J6 defendants are there total? I should know this.
I don't know this. No.
The total? I mean, it's many dozens and dozens. 50, 100, something like that.
I thought
something like that, somewhere around there. Yeah. If they were Afro Puerto Rican revolutionaries, socialist revolutionaries, accused of killing a cop, right? With some good evidence that they killed the cop. The left, this would be a 24/7 emergency protest movement. I mean, there would be hundreds of thousands of people in the streets surrounding the jail, trying to smash the door. I mean, fighting cops in the street over this. I mean, it would be, all the magazines I named would have front page cover stories devoted to this daily. It's grotesque that the left has either ignored this or condoned it. A big chunk of the nation, I believe, and Democracy Now! Have condoned what's been done to the January 6th defendants. It's disgusting. Clearly, political prisoners who, by the way, committed a tiny even the worst of them committed a tiny fraction of the violence that the Black Panthers committed, for instance, that the heroes of the left, that communist labor organizers who I know a whole lot about committed. It was so cool to blow up people's cars, to blow up the factory, to fight scabs on the picket line, to break the picket line, or who are trying to break the picket line, to preserve the picket line. I mean, violence is it's a touchstone of the left.
Well, that was
like John Brown we talked about. I mean, all of the left's biggest heroes were all violent. Is there something coincidental about that?
That's largely why Jan 6, I think, happened, at least, or why the people who were there who weren't FBI informants did participate in some of the violence, is because they had just experienced the most violent summer in almost American history, like since '68, right?
That too.
Yeah. So political violence was completely normalized and valorized, and these people felt unheard. And as Martin Luther King said, a riot is the language of the unheard. And it just didn't apply to the people you'd want it to.
That was such a scary time. 2020, and I mean, the summer of 2020 was, and I sort of realize now I was repressing a lot of the fear about what was going on. It was so unhinged, in the midst of the pandemic, and then doing what you just said, but in the most provocative, flagrant way, not just condoning, promoting, encouraging, I think it's safe to say, violent protest. I don't think there's any question that a lot of the violence was done because people assumed they would get away with it.
And they did. And mainstream, huge Democratic politicians bailed them out explicitly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look at Portland. I mean, they held the federal building under siege for a year? Something like that, like every night for a year, I think, a half a year or something like that, 6 months. They were launching fireworks at the federal building and trying to set it on fire. And they were allowed to do that. I mean, What?
Yeah, Chaz in Seattle, like
Chaz in Seattle? Oh, you just give him the street in downtown Seattle. No, just give it to him. That's cool. Oh yeah, it's all criminals. Turns out. Oh, they're all felons. Oh, okay. And one murderer.
Yeah, murder every day.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey man, it's racial justice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Getting killed by black people is racial justice. I know some things about a place in Oakland. It's an institution in Oakland. I'm not at liberty to talk about it yet, but that is doing something amazingly scandalous in its refusal to provide security. And it's a school. It's a school with children in it. It's in Oakland. No security. They won't provide security because to do so would be racist.
Just like disciplining kids that are a certain color is racist. Failing kids is racist.
Yeah, this is where, and there have been many instances of people coming onto the campus who weren't supposed to be there, casing the place, looking for things to steal or been caught. They've been, many people have been caught doing this and they still will not have security. In Oakland, where there's a video of a crime being committed, in a ridiculous crime, I might add, being committed in Oakland every single day. But you don't provide security because it would be racist to do so. This is the progressive mind. It's staggering. That's what we're dealing with still. 2020 was traumatic, but it's what so many people lusted for. $90 million donated to BLM, poof, gone. $90 million. A lot of houses bought with that money, just gone. $90 million was donated to BLM, the BLM organization that up and stole it. The leaders just stole all the money. And I mean, all of it. And look where we are. Exactly the number of black people are killed per year as before BLM. Exactly the same. No difference whatsoever. Good Lord. Anyway, let's talk some news.
Yeah. Oh, well, sorry, you brought up the money being stolen. Do you think the Red Cross is in a similar position?
With who? Where? I don't know.
Wildfires, and there's just been reports that a lot of every time a tragedy happens, there's a giant fundraising campaign to the Red Cross. And if you look into where that money goes, it's pretty much all into operations and it just disappears. And
don't fuck with the Red Cross conspiracy theorists. Come on, man. Leave me something left. One institution in the world that's actually good, Michael, please.
But I mean, you see Michelle Obama on your TV after every hurricane, and you see that banner for the Red Cross, and every year millions and millions gets donated, and where does that money go?
Shit. Is there any institution that's good? Like I heard that Jacques Cousteau was like an imperialist or something. So then I'm like, we're done. Like there's nothing in the establishment that's good. No, really, when you get this cynical about politics as I am, it's great. It's not fun.
No,
it's better to be ignorant.
Yeah, this show has been getting less and less fun as news gets worse and worse. It's just
we're not about fun. We're about truth.
True.
Very puritanical in that way.
Yeah.
People actually believe that being good and virtuous is a higher calling than having fun. Mm-hmm. That's actually very American. Anyway, BLM stole the money, and we were going to say what?
Oh, well, I think Red Cross is also stealing.
Oh, Red Cross. Sorry. Yes. And so the Red Cross is bullshit too. BLM was trying to become the next Red Cross, meaning like the iconic institution.
Yeah.
Red Cross turns out it might actually be. I mean, I don't know. Red Cross you do see Red Cross actually on the battlefields, and you have for, what is it, a century or more. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, they certainly, BLM is a complete fraud. I mean, they've done zero, right? Nothing. But the Red Cross has done something, right?
Well,
I mean, it's not like
BLM exists to make the problems worse. If the problems go away, then BLM ceases to exist.
Even worse. Yeah. It's kind of like the Peace Corps. When I tell people what the Peace Corps has always really been about, they're like, "What? I thought it was basically like a charity, like just helping villagers with, have plumbing, build plumbing in villages in Africa. It's like, yes, it is that, but it was designed by Kennedy, by the way, the explicit purpose of converting those villagers to a proper way of life, meaning an American life. And if they chose not to and go with the Soviets, we would kill them and burn their villages down. But yeah, a lot of these, so many of these things, like I grew up with, even in the left, even in the hard left, I thought Amnesty International was basically cool. Nope. Front. Basically a front for the empire. I mean, it just is. So anyway.
You were talking about nostalgia or remembering how scary 2020 was. And just now we've got a new variant of COVID to be afraid of.
Oh, God. And, okay, yeah, let's do this. We need to, this is an important moment. This is a political organizing moment. Well, we need to have more and more, and I need to do this on Twitter. I just haven't gotten to it, but and I think it'll just happen regardless. So I'm pretty excited actually in a way. People need to declare that they will not wear a fucking mask no matter what now. Right now. Like just say it out loud, like en masse, to the extent where the mainstream corporate media will have to pay attention and the politicians will have to pay attention. And it'll be much easier to resist when they do come in with a mandate, because we will feel much less alone. Like, especially here, a place like this, man, it is hard psychologically. I cannot do that again. I can't feel that isolated again from other people and hating every single person I saw on the street. I just can't do that again. So all of us need help. Like, and so I say, be vocal right now. Say it to your family, say it to your friends, say it on Twitter, say it wherever. I will not wear a mask if they mandate it. Sorry. No, just straight up no. And I see some people have said it. Scott Adams said it on Twitter, a couple others recently, but I want to see like a wave of this, because I'm not going through that again. No.
Well, real quick, we're starting to really, hit the pavement on this, because some schools are starting to mandate masks again. This is Morris Brown in Atlanta.
Can't hear it.
Dang, the audio's gone. I should have used a different downloader for that. But yeah, Morris Brown in Atlanta, the famous school. There's an Outkast song with their marching band.
Right.
I love that.
Wait, is that an HBCU?
It's not, but it may as well be, but it's not. I don't think officially.
But it's a black school mostly?
Mostly, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. That they would go with a mask mandate. Because
it is an HBCU. Yeah, it just had its accreditation restored. Yeah.
I was gonna say. Now that's interesting, because what I'm calling mask resistance was way higher among black people. Mm-hmm. This was when black culture definitely did come through, for sure, for us, for the peoples, for the freedom lovers. No, black resistance, and you can see around here too, is great. Like black dudes from Oakland are like, fuck your mask. But all the Berkeley liberals, white and black, we're just like, oh God, must wear it. But anyway, that's interesting that they would try that on a black population.
2-week mask mandate, again, 2 weeks to slow the spread.
2 weeks. Yeah. That'll do it. That'll definitely help a lot. Yeah.
And then the other institution is Hollywood. The Lionsgate company on all their sets right now are requiring masks again.
So there have just been several studies, and there was one meta study, which is a study of studies of mask effectiveness. And by the way, everyone should check out Ian Miller, who's on Unregistered, who's done the definitive work on this. He's been working on this for like 3 years. There's a meta study recently that showed definitively that masks don't do shit. Nothing. Even the K95s. Even those have been shown to do nothing. Cloth masks are shown. Everyone knows this. Even Fauci admitted this. Cloth masks are useless. It was just shown in a meta study that KN95s are also useless, are just as useless as cloth masks. So it's the only reason to wear a mask, and the only reason it was previously used, was if you are performing surgery and it's to keep spittle from coming out of your mouth into the fucking body cavity you're working in. That's the only reason to wear a mask. So far, there's just been so many studies. I knew this at the beginning of the pandemic. I dug into these old studies of mask wearing effectiveness. And like up until like, I don't know, the year before or 2 years before, like the big American Dental Association, I think, one of the major medical journals had a whole study of it saying, yeah, totally, it's not worth it unless you're performing surgery. It doesn't do anything. Like, anyway, these people, when they wear masks, I lose it. I lose it.
Yeah. Alex Jones had a TSA whistleblower on saying that they're going to have a big push in the fall to bring masks back and to bring lockdown policies back. And
I don't
want to speak that into existence. I don't want to, normalize it and get it into our heads and prepare us for it. But, you do have to be proactive about it.
After, as I've said, I saw him on that Rogan and I fact checked every single thing he said for 3 hours, and every single thing was right.
Mm-hmm.
When he said the masks are coming back, my heart fell through the floor. Because Alex Jones tends to be right about these things. Some goddamn how. I don't know. I guess he just has an army of researchers. Is that how he pulls it off? I guess he's always done it.
Yeah.
What does he do? He's just an amazing researcher? Is that?
Totally, yeah. No, he obsessively, like, if you watch his show, he famously has articles thrown out all over his desk.
But that he does himself is my question. Like, do you think he's always done his own research? He's just...
he highlights them himself. If you watch him on Piers Morgan in that famous confrontation they had about guns, he was bringing up articles, and a lot of his public appearances, he always has his own strew of articles and highlights. And that's what makes him so effective, is that anybody can Google what he says and figure out he's onto something.
Has he ever talked about his sources, like how he does research?
Drudge Report was where he gets most of his stuff from, and he likes to use mainstream sources as much as possible. Like, I'm not saying this, ABC is saying this. He says that a lot,
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm just curious. It is an amazing phenomenon that no academic will ever, that I'm giving him the time of day. Academics would just like, this is just confirmation that I'm insane or stupid or whatever, but like, to give Alex Jones any credibility whatsoever, it's just like outrageous for them. But I'm sorry, his batting average is way higher than academics' batting averages. Way higher. Mm-hmm. I'm still talking to professors of political science who still think that Russia hacked the 2016 election, but want you to go to prison if you think the Democrats hacked the 2020 election. God knows what to do with these people. So where are we at? So we got 4 indictments now?
4 indictments. Yeah. And mugshot forthcoming at any moment.
And did you see the moment at the Republican debate when the moderator asked if they would pardon Trump?
If they would pardon Trump, well, I didn't hear that. I saw, if Trump is convicted, would you still endorse him? I saw that moment.
Oh, I only watched clips. I will admit I didn't watch it all. But I thought for sure the question was, I thought it was essentially, would you pardon Trump? Is that not right?
I need to check that clip again, but I thought it was.
That's when DeSantis infamously turned his head to look at what Vivek was doing before he raised his hand.
Yeah. I believe the question was, if Trump is convicted, and he is the nominee, would you endorse him? I believe that was the question.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought I heard the word pardon. Huh. Okay.
That might have been included in there, but.
Anyway. So wait, so Christie is still, I'm just trying to get a sense of the anti-Trump. Oh no, Vivek came out. I think that's what it was.
So Vivek is very pro-Trump, and it seems like his campaign.
No. I know what it was. Vivek was the only one who said basically, yes, I would pardon him, or basically yes, that Trump is innocent. Like I think that was a hand raise thing, and Vivek, I think, was the only one who raised his or her hand. I think that's what it was.
Well, Vivek was the first to raise his hand, and then the other candidates slowly started raising their hand, and scanned the room and like half.
I apologize everyone for watching clips. I could have sworn no, these were two different moments, but anyway, whatever. But Vivek is the point is I'm making is that Vivek, am I right, is the only pro-Trump candidate in the primary.
Yeah, super in that debate stage, pretty much he's the only super explicit.
I mean, guy, yeah. And many of them are not just not pro-Trump; they are never Trumpers, like Christie and Asa Hutchinson, who's like a complete nobody, but seems to think he can run for president. But I mean, like DeSantis is actually relatively soft on Trump compared to other people in the primary. I mean, it's a very anti-Trump primary, but I'm also thinking, and I didn't realize how positive Vivek is toward Trump, calling him, what does he say, the greatest president of
the
21st century. It's not that many, how many presidents is it? But nonetheless, I mean, that's a very pro-Trump statement. I mean, the guy must be angling for a position in the cabinet. He must see that Trump's winning. He's up by 50 points in the polls, that he's going to probably win unless he goes to prison. It's either the big house or the White House for Trump at this point. I mean, by the way, can you imagine being a billionaire and choosing this life that he chose? Ending up where it's ending up here. It's not even ending up. I mean, this is just the latest chapter, but like, so yeah, Vivek sees that Trump's there's a good chance, very good chance, he's going to be in the White House. Vivek clearly, for speaking of billionaires who do crazy things like want to be president, I just can't get over these guys. Like, how could that be any fun at all? Being president, running for president. I mean, it'd be like living in an acid bath all day long. Anyway, he wants political power. Clearly, he has a lust for it. Dude's 39 years old, and he says some things that are pretty ignorant, but he's generally, I'd say he's relatively well versed among all the candidates. I think he knows the issues, I'd say, better than his competitors, most of them. He has this idiotic thing he says about Russia and Ukraine. He's gonna stop the war. How's he gonna stop the war?
I've got that clip real quick.
Yeah, he's gonna go tell Putin what to do.
Oh, not that one, but yeah, he's gonna tell Putin, and he's gonna like
you stop hanging out with China, Putin. Stop that, and he's gonna do it. That's what Vivek's gonna do.
Yeah, but this was what he had to say about Ukraine last night, which I think got the most applause out of anything.
This was good. This was good.
Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine.
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous, that we are protecting against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States of America. We are driving Russia further into China's hands. The Russia-China alliance is the single greatest threat we face. And I find it offensive that we have professional politicians on the stage that will make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the south side of Chicago or Kensington. I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first, secure our own border instead of somebody else's. And the reality is, this is also how we project strength by making America strong at home.
Thank you.
At first, I thought it was a mistake, a tactical mistake, calling Zelensky the Pope of the Democrats, of the liberals, of the establishment. But the more I think about it, the more brilliant that is, because that is precisely what he is for them. He's an external leader of them and their ideology and their political movement, right? He's outside the United States, though, and they are more loyal to him, is the point. They're more loyal to this guy who lives over there than they are to the United States and to Americans in particular. The way that Catholics, have been accused, and with some justification, of being more loyal to the Vatican than to Washington, D.C. I think that's what he was. I think that's I think that was the analogy he was going for.
Yeah. And real quick, I got one more clip. This is the meeting he was
Yeah.
referring to. This is Elizabeth Warren and Richard Blumenthal and Lindsey Graham shaking hands with Zelensky. Their fourth trip out there.
I'm Elizabeth Warren. It's nice to see you. Nice to see you. Very nice to see you.
Do you know Lindsey Graham?
Yes,
we know each other. And we're back for the fourth time.
The fourth time.
Fourth trip. One more trip. We're in the eighth.
They love each other.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, they're peoples. That's all. It's family, man. Now, the thing is, Zelensky is going to be living in a villa in Miami this time next year, sitting on a stack of possibly billions with a B dollars of our money that we gave to him for the war. This is one of the main stories that's been going on that people don't even know about. Ukraine, as we do know, was the most corrupt country in Europe. This is admitted by everybody. Everybody knows this. It was in the mainstream media until the war started that Ukraine was the most corrupt country in the world. In Europe, number one in Europe. And, you know, that it was very common for government officials to take tons and tons of the money from the public coffers. And that was it, just standard practice. And so we decide to send $100 or $200 billion over there during a war when everything's all chaotic anyway, and expect them not to take all the money for themselves and spend it on villas in Miami and apparently also in Spain and in Italy. A couple islands in the Mediterranean are favored by not just Zelensky, but many of the top officials in the Ukrainian government are very, very rich. Apparently, if you want to dig into this and find the evidence, go to the Panama Papers. Apparently has the records of this, of what Zelensky and his associates in the Ukrainian government possess in terms of assets and cash, and it is staggering. These are some of the wealthiest people in the world. Yes, Zelensky and the leaders of the Ukrainian government are among the wealthiest people in the world, and much of that money came from us. $900 per, what is it, American on average in tax money has gone to Ukraine. The average American taxpayer has sent $900 to Ukraine. And much of that is being enjoyed by very particular Ukrainians. It is, when that comes out, and that's starting to come out more and more, that will definitely sour Americans on sending money over there. Those guys, what do you expect though? Like, come on, the most corrupt country in Europe, and you just hand them all this dough? And what do you think? And when of course, simultaneously, there's this whole psyop going on in which these Ukrainians, Zelensky and his buddies, are made out to be these Jesus figures, the Pope figure. Everybody worshiped them. He was worshipped before Congress. Hollywood makes pilgrimages to him and to, worship at his feet, literally. Sean Penn, Ben Stiller. God, so you think Zelensky's not going to feel like maybe he could get away with something? Of course he can. The theft of our money by that motherfucker is going to, when we get to the bottom of that, which may take a while, is going to blow people away. What they're going to do is they're going to wait about a decade or two when people have forgotten about the Ukraine war, which Americans do. Americans have forgotten about the damn Iraq war already. They're going to wait a decade or two when it's faded from consciousness and be like, oh, Zelensky found to have embezzled X billions of dollars from U.S. deposits. And then no one will care. We'll move on. But yeah, they are of the same race of people, and I don't mean Jewish. I mean liberal globalist, which I think is a good term, by the way. Liberal globalist. It's a particular kind of globalist.
No, yeah, everywhere. The elite of pretty much every country are lockstep in just about everything. And they're all educated in Western universities.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key. I mean, and by the way, so now that we see BRICS going on and really taking off, now we can talk about that. Do you have that map?
I do. I want to talk a little bit more about Vivek, though.
Totally.
Because
oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
He did the establishment pivot, which is very subtle. Everybody thinks this is a big anti-establishment guy, but he pivots to be hard on foreign policy as hard on China. You know, he says the real problem is China. The big problem.
Oh, thank you.
Is this forcing Russia and China together?
Thank you. Do you have that clip when he talks about China?
Oh, he brought it up recently in that clip I just played.
Yeah.
He said the real problem, but yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is great. Thank you for bringing that up. I forgot. This is really, really important, and it's so goddamn dangerous, and it's so distressing that this is happening on the right, although I suppose I should have expected it, which is that the right, meaning sort of the MAGA right, the Vivek right, and has been calling for a long time for aggression against China, against the CCP. And then when Xi and Putin formed their alliance at the beginning of the war, the entire establishment joined with the MAGA crazies, I will call them, in pivoting against China. Although this is what I've been trying to ask a lot of experts. I've had people on my show to get to the bottom of this, and it's unclear. There are still some elements of the foreign policy establishment that does want to maintain this cooperative collaboration with China, which was the official position of the foreign policy establishment. But basically, at least publicly, the entire establishment turned on a dime in February of last year against China, and they're all going hard against China in some way or another. So Vivek is riding that wave, and he is appealing to that sentiment. He can get away with, none of them have actually straight up called for war that I know of, like explicitly, clearly, but they've gone right up to that, calling for war, the real China hawks. But it's just really dangerous. And it's not.
It's a given that China is an adversary.
Right. Yeah. And the alliance between Russia and China is only a threat so far as the United States continues to act like an imperialist boss. I mean, we only fear them so long as we aggress against them, which we have always done in some way or another. So aggress or contain, they were not allowed to expand when we were expanding all over the globe. Somehow that was okay. We had ended up with 800 military bases on like 80% of the countries. But if they have like one military base in this other country, it's like cause for World War III. We'll blow up everything if they have an air base in Djibouti. So Vivek, man, calm down, bro. The reason that they are joining together is because of the actions of the United States of America. That's why. So remove the cause of the thing you don't like, and the thing you don't like will go away. Russia and China will have no need to form a military alliance if, let's say, we leave NATO. If we left NATO, Russia and China would only be interested in allying with us. If NATO were to persist without us, it would only be a good thing, dumbass. And all Russia and China have ever, except during the Soviet and communist periods, but ever since then, the Russian and Chinese leaderships have, from the minute communism dissolved in those countries, essentially in China, at least economically, from the get-go, the leadership of those countries has wanted one thing with the United States, which is trade. Good God, Vivek. And you should know that, Mr. Businessman.
Well, do you know how he got rich?
How? Sort of biotech, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, don't sue us, but he's kind of a huge fraud in that biotech space.
Do tell. I don't know. What's this?
Oh, yeah. He basically bought the rights to a drug that had a bunch of failed tests, and then has major ownership in like the parent company of this drug that he bought for. And then his mom's involved, and shifted around a bunch of tests, and they selected the data to make it look like this failed drug was going to work, and they raised a bunch of funds. And then right before the final tests came out, he sold all of his stock and made billions off of this drug right before the stock tanked. And then they renamed the company afterwards, so people can't really look it up. But this stuff is all out there. Look at how Vivek got rich. Yeah.
And why hasn't the SEC gone after him?
I just think he's a big pharma guy, and big pharma is corrupt, and it operates like that. And it's he might have done it completely legally, but it's not ethical at all. Yeah.
Oh, I don't trust him at all. Well, that's clear already, but I don't trust any of these guys. Even Bobby Kennedy, who's pretty damn good on a lot of stuff and very smart. Oh, by the way, I meant to say this. Bobby Kennedy recently said the correct thing about who killed his uncle. I think he said this in a recent interview. He said it wasn't the CIA as a whole, as an agency. It wasn't the national leadership of the CIA. He said it was the Miami field station.
Wow.
I think he said maybe even elements within, which I think is the exactly right thing, most likely. But I mean, the thing I know for sure is it wasn't the national leadership of the CIA. There's so much evidence for that, or even the CIA in any meaningful, large sense. But there's a bunch of evidence for the Miami elements within some agents within the Miami field station. Anyway, so Bobby Jr. might have actually that's good. That helps. I like that. But the thing is, he needs to be convinced of the real thing. And I just finished writing this section of the book, by the way. John F. Kennedy was the biggest hawk in American history, and was going hard as hell in Vietnam when he was killed, and had every intention of going even harder. He was going to continue that war until the Viet Cong were defeated. And he said this over and over again, all the way till the end. And that is the fundamental myth that I just keep hearing over and over and over again from Bobby Kennedy Jr., from a lot of very smart people in politics and political analysis who have this bizarre romantic blind spot for the Kennedys. Anyway.
They have great PR to convince the whole world that they're the exact opposite of who they are.
Exact opposite. Is it just the way they looked in sunglasses? Is that what it is? Is it just the sexiness? I get that, but fuck. Come on, people. Anyway, when my book comes out, it's over for those hoes.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a week or two ago, but he's basically repeating 1940s era propaganda about Israel-Palestine. And
yeah, right. Oh yeah, Max Blumenthal just took him to Max. Everyone should go check that out on Jimmy Dore. Bobby Kennedy Jr. gets interviewed by Jimmy Dore. And did we talk about this last time?
We did, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But everyone should check that out. Max just took him to the woodshed. Oh my goodness. It's subsequent interviews. So one with Kennedy and then one with Blumenthal. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right. This show is called Unreported, and the big unreported story, of course, is the BRICS summit. And no major mainstream media is talking about this at all. But it looks like, what is it? A third of the world's population is potentially going to be members of this organization now.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Okay, now the newest members that were announced just yesterday or today.
Invited. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they had already applied to be, and they were just admitted at the BRICS conference, which is happening in Johannesburg, South Africa right now. So it's Argentina, Egypt. Listen to these. Well, let's do the first two. Argentina and Ethiopia. Okay. Strategically, they're in important parts of the world. They're not the most strategic. Ethiopia is fairly strategic because of where it's located there on the Red Sea. But but there's a lot of big populations, a lot of areas. So, they're fairly important. But then we've got Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Iran will be part of the same alliance that is led by Russia and China. Let's do that again. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, the largest and most powerful countries in the Middle East, who 5 minutes ago hated each other's guts. What? This is the most dramatic shift in global geopolitics in years. This alone, that those three countries would ally together in an alliance led by Russia and China against the United States and the EU and NATO. Okay, it's on now. And then you can see the map as a whole. Look at this bad boy. We got 3 continents. We've got, in terms of Eurasia, which Brzezinski said in the Grand Chessboard in 1997, whoever controls Eurasia controls the world. And this is why we've been doing what we've been doing in Eurasia ever since 1997, which is going nuts, going crazy, trying to overthrow Putin and Xi and whoever the Chinese leader is at the time. So look at Eurasia, man. They've got China and India already. So that would be 3 billion people. 3 right there. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. This is really a new world. Eurasia is closing down. Pakistan, Imran Khan. I guess this would probably be the next biggest and most important Asian nation, would be Pakistan, I think, after these. Well, other than Japan, which is not moving anytime. Japan's about to get isolated too, now that I'm looking at the map. Thailand had recent elections that were contested, and the United States tried to influence because there were some anti-Western candidates in Thailand. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but anyway, there's a movement in Thailand, is my point. A nationalist populist movement in Thailand that wants to kick the Americans out.
And then Javier Milei as a rising star in Argentina.
Argentina, right. He's this crazy anarcho-capitalist dude who kind of is reminding people of Nick Gillespie, which, sorry, Nick. But anyway,
because of the hair and the rock music and the leather jackets.
And the politics.
Yeah.
Although I think he's more radical than Nick, I think, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't looked into him yet, but he's got a Trumpy edge, though. That guy, Milei. Mm-hmm. I've noticed he's got a little populist edge to him, nationalist populist. But yeah, so Imran Khan in Pakistan, right? So Imran Khan was just ousted and is put in prison because he was going to join BRICS. He was very friendly with Putin, very friendly with the Chinese, and they did him in. So that means, though, and he's the most popular politician in Pakistan, even while he's in solitary confinement as we speak. Huge protests in the street. So that tells me there's a major movement in Pakistan too to join BRICS, not just Imran Khan. If you add Pakistan on that map, then it's becoming like Asia is closing down, and Japan will be left alone on the far eastern flank there, all alone. Korea and South Korea. So what are they going to do? I don't know. But those little U.S. islands that we have there, known as Japan and South Korea, I don't know. Wow. So the world's a-changing. What will it mean? Mm-hmm. What will it mean? So the other big story out of the BRICS conference summit in Johannesburg is that they are actively, we already knew this, but they were sort of just accelerating this. They are actively pursuing the establishment of an alternative currency, I think, in a digital currency, to challenge head-on the dollar as the world's.
The rumor was it was going to be gold-backed as well.
And gold-backed, right? And that's what I heard, and I don't know what that means exactly. I guess I know what it means. Is it
I guess like Fort Knox was, like.
But how's it connected to the blockchain?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, it's probably going to function digitally, and there's probably going to be blockchain technology to verify transactions and keep a record. But having physical gold in China and Russia and India to back all the currency.
To back it. But crypto is produced by mining digitally.
It depends.
Well, Bitcoin is.
Bitcoin is, yeah. But
so there's no way to that's a meaningless thing to say that it would be gold backed.
Well,
Right.
you can have a gold-backed currency operate on a blockchain. The way that Bitcoin
Well,
functions. Yeah.
if you can't increase the size of the amount, the volume of the currency,
Yeah. Like there's stable coins that are tied
the number
to
of coins.
dollar.
If you can't increase the number of coins, if you're not allowed, I mean, to increase the number of coins, then sure, you can back it with gold.
And
but
there's plans for central bank digital currencies everywhere that are tied to. Like,
if there's
Federal
mining,
Reserve.
right, that's true. Okay, but so that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll operate, it'll function as cryptocurrency, but I take it it'll be finite. I don't know what the word is for this, but
Tied to gold.
well, right, but I mean, it'll be tied to gold. There's going to have to be some rule built in to the code to not allow expansion, the creation of new currency. Whatever, technical, doesn't matter. They want to go after the dollar, and everybody knows if you go after the dollar and you win, guess what? It's truly over. The sun will have set on the American empire. We're still a long way from the sun setting on the American empire. NATO is still, has, 30 members now and growing, I mean, there's adding more. They still have bases in, I think it's now 500 to 600 countries. But there's many bases we don't even know about. So, the military empire is doing great. Now there are major issues with recruitment, which I think could be crippling. I really do. But, and then in terms of the dollar, I haven't checked the numbers recently, but no economist will tell you that the BRICS currency will become the reserve currency anytime soon. This is going to be like many, many, many years if it is successful.
Yeah, comparatively, the dollar is doing pretty strong right now.
Right. And yeah, so I mean, Europe is doing way worse than we are. So at the moment, yeah, but nonetheless, the infrastructure is being built for an alternative empire. Now, how loose and decentralized and free that other empire will be is all I want to know. How cool will they be with, travel within, BRICS, the BRICS countries, whatever they're going to be called. Will there be, things like racist policies in there, or will there be like, discrimination against certain people from certain nationalities? I don't know. Like, what's it going to be like life in BRICS? Because I want to see their cities, and I've actually seen their cities. I've been in their cities, and I've seen videos of their cities too, and they're much better looking than San Francisco, than Los Angeles, than New York.
Are you telling me there's no poop on the streets of Dubai?
Forget Dubai. I mean, let alone, I'm talking about Moscow. Have you seen the videos from Moscow? Like, it looks amazing. Super modern, super clean, efficient. The subway system in Moscow is like this gorgeous work of art. Whereas the New York subway is just like falling down. I mean, it's unbelievable. So yeah, I'm thinking life in BRICS, man.
There's a video that came out this week of somebody in New York looking down at the pavement, and you could see a hole, and under the hole was the subway system.
Oh yeah, no, which one is it? There's one down by City Hall. There's one station that I went into like a year ago. Randomly, I walked in there and I just couldn't believe it. I thought it was abandoned, and I had like accidentally walked into an abandoned subway station. There was a waterfall inside of it. There was a waterfall inside the subway station where the trains were coming. There was, I guess, a burst pipe or something. It was just coming through the wall, and no people were there worrying about it. It was just total third world. So no, and of course, East Asian countries, like Japan, Korea, China, the cities there, you've seen that.
Yeah.
Like Shanghai, what Shanghai looks like, Singapore. I mean, it goes on and on and on. They look like gleam. They're not exactly my aesthetic, but they are incredibly impressive. Yeah. And they certainly look clean, and they are clean and orderly.
And they say you can leave your wallet on a street corner and pick it up the next day.
Yeah, they look like wealthy cities. They look like wealthy cities. Our cities do not look like wealthy cities anymore. They look like decaying wealthy cities. Cities that were once wealthy. that are falling apart.
The Detroitification of the U.S.
Yeah, man. It's so sad here. I can't tell you. I mean, come to the Bay Area for anthropological reasons only, sociological reasons only, out of intellectual curiosity. I mean, no, there are still fun things to do, but it'll be deeply unpleasant. You can't really avoid seeing things that are deeply unpleasant here, and this is true for LA too. But it's even worse here. It's just nuts. 20,000 homeless in San Francisco, something like 10,000 in Oakland, and growing. Anyway,
so what do you think of the plane crash?
Prigozhin, let's do this.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy shit, man. The whole Prigozhin thing is the one piece of the Ukraine war and sort of Russian politics and US-Russia politics that is hard to rationalize. It's so wild. And I don't mean just this latest thing of his apparent assassination, along with 9 other poor souls, including 3 totally innocent pilots and aircrew. So whoever did this is responsible for killing 3 completely innocent people, bystanders.
Do you believe the plane was shot down?
Which to me and to many people I know everyone loves to think about Putin as like this, gangster devil who loves eating babies for breakfast. But to me, that actually pretty much rules it out that he would do that. I do, unless there was something there's just no way. I can't think of any compelling reason for Putin to kill Prigozhin. There was just nothing in it for him. There were so many ways to control him. I mean, they exiled him. Why he was in Russia in the first place is like very curious, but he had nothing to gain and he had, quite a bit to lose, which is even more fodder because the entire West is saying, of course, that Putin did this. And this is just further evidence that he's a psychopathic killer. He had no reason for it whatsoever. He could have been dispatched in many ways.
Or he could have been killed when the, march happened.
Sure. I mean, they got to put him in prison. They got to, whatever. I mean, there's ways to deal with him. And he didn't constitute any kind of threat. I mean, Wagner was like hunkered down in these in these barracks in Belarus in the middle of nowhere, apparently. They deliberately put them out in some remote area in Belarus. So Surovikin was one of the top commanders of the Russian military, and he was sacked 2 days ago, or 2 days before the plane was shot down. And Surovikin was the main person in the high command in the Russian military who was reported to be pro-Prigozhin. Prigozhin had these famous fights with Gerasimov and Shoigu, who are the other 2 leaders of the military. And, as these crazy videos where he's denouncing them and calling them cunts and pussies and faggots and stuff and talking about their children and like just crazy shit. But apparently Surovikin was at least sympathetic to Prigozhin. And he was made the commander of the Ukraine war too, Surovikin was. But he got deposed, sacked, taken out right before this happened. Now, that's the best circumstantial evidence to pin it on Putin, because if there was something going on inside the high command of the Russian military, right? Something involving Prigozhin you would have to take action. Now, taking action in the way that he did by shooting down his plane with all those other people in it, yes and no. The 3 innocents, I don't know. The fact that the rest of the Wagner high command was shot down too. So the entire Wagner leadership's gone. They were all in that plane. It was the top 7 leaders of Wagner were in that plane.
So it sounds like there's motive for Ukraine to do this.
No, because only as revenge, which is possible because, Ukraine killed our friend Alexander Dugin's daughter, who was a journalist, for saying bad things about them. So they're capable of it. But No, because Wagner's been removed. They're gone. They're all in Belarus. They're not fighting in Ukraine anymore, and they were turning their attention. The other weird thing is that Prigozhin, just 2 days or 1 day, 2 days before his plane was shot down, was in Africa, because that's what Wagner's been doing for the last several years. In addition to Ukraine, they've been expanding their activities in Africa for various geopolitical reasons. And Wagner's been leading that effort. So I don't know, man. It's a weird one.
There's a piece in The Guardian
I have a theory
casting skepticism that Prigozhin might have staged his death.
That's actually, you know what? There's a very, very real possibility that that's what happened. So, was it 2 years ago, 5 years ago?
2019.
Congo?
Yeah.
4
Democrat.
years ago? Right. So, speaking of his activities in the Congo, so he was in the Congo doing his thing with Wagner. And there was a plane crash, and he was said to have been on it and is said to have been killed in it. And lo and behold, there he comes with his big, ugly, bald head popping up somewhere else, doing crazy stuff. The thing is about this whole affair is with Prigozhin, all these crazy things with Prigozhin, is why would Putin, who seems so rational and so sort of level-headed and so pragmatic, especially, why he would let this fool have so much power in such sensitive areas of the government? I don't understand. But anyway, then it was discovered at Prigozhin, I think shortly after or during the Congo affair. At some point, it was discovered in Prigozhin's apartment or one of his houses, the existence of multiple fake IDs that he had for himself, multiple aliases, I think with different faces and whatever, like different like passports, I guess, with different IDs. So I could see something. The thing is, the killing all the other people, that's the hard part to reconcile. No matter who did it, it's kind of just, the more I think about it is, I have to say it's something the Ukrainians would do. I mean, the Russians are certainly capable of something like that.
The Ukrainians have essentially resorted to terrorism at this point.
Right. I mean, they've announced it with that incredibly creepy ad they had of the drone campaign against Moscow civilians, that horrible like PSA they have, highly produced ad, the Ukrainian government, which shows these drones attacking Moscow. My God. So yeah, and again, Daria Dugina is dead proof that they are capable of something like that. I mean, again, I just don't see what Putin's motivation was, unless there was something major going on with Surovikin within the chiefs of staff in the military. Because Prigozhin undoubtedly had, major connections in the Russian military, and many of them must have been favorable toward him. So I could see something, if not an outright coup, some sort of traitorous behavior within the military, which could, and the Wagner leadership would have been a part of it, no doubt about it. Not no doubt about it, but it's quite likely. So they took out 2 pilots and a stewardess to accomplish that. I don't know. The other possibility is the CIA, because there's a very high likelihood. We know that Prigozhin was talking to British intelligence during the Bakhmut siege, I believe it was, I think in the spring. We know that he was also talking to the Ukrainian intelligence, Budanov, what's his name? He's this incredibly creepy guy who runs the CIA of Ukraine. We know that Prigozhin was talking to Ukraine and the Brits, and his whole explosive, wild behavior with the videos against Gerasimov and Shoigu, with the dead bodies in the background and screaming obscenities into the air and just wildness, to many people, including me, looked so over the top. It seemed it couldn't be fully authentic. And I just wondered if the United States somehow gave him something to launch the mutiny, which was also even more over the top. I wouldn't be surprised at all if somehow we promised, we meaning the US and probably British, more likely MI6, gave him something or promised him something, which wouldn't be money since he's a billionaire, but maybe security, safety, like an island somewhere in some Dhaka in some safe place forever, in exchange for fucking up Putin by launching a mutiny. You know, that is very plausible for the CIA or MI6. MI6 and the Brits, by the way, everyone needs to realize, as insane as the American establishment has been about its Putin hatred, the British have lost their damn minds. Alexander Mercurius of the Duran, is, as far as I can tell, and Peter Hitchens are basically the only British people in the world who don't have an Ukrainian flag in their window. They're nuts for this war. They love it to death. Boris Johnson was instrumental in making the war happen and continue. They have if you want to invade a country, everybody go do it right now. You can go take Britain. They have no tanks. They have no way to defend actually British soil. They would have to depend entirely on American troops right now because they have sent almost all of their hardware to Ukraine and it is all burning up in a field there as we speak. That's how fanatical they are about this. So I could see British intelligence, which would be the most fanatical of the fanatics, doing something like this. And shooting down the sorry to say, the pilots and the stewardess on that plane. I mean, to the CIA and the MI6, do you think that's really going to bother them if they get to bag the entire Wagner leadership? They took out Wagner with one SAM missile. The whole thing's gone. Now, why the entire Wagner leadership chose to be on the same plane at the same time boggles the mind. Like, I can't believe they did that, which makes me wonder, did this really go down as we're being told? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine a military organization of any kind sending its top 7 commanders onto a private jet to fly between Moscow and Leningrad during a war? Like St. Petersburg. I keep calling it Leningrad because I was there then. I mean, that seems like there's no way they'd be that stupid. And Wagner, by all accounts, is a pretty well-run organization. I mean, quite successful. They took Bakhmut, and they've done most of the fighting in Ukraine and won most of the battles, and have been very successful in Africa too. So that takes some serious organizing chops. These are not dummies. Plus, they all come out of they were all elite Russian military guys. And the Russian military is no joke. Certainly not at the highest levels. Anyway, it's very strange. And I don't know what to do with it, but I don't see Putin doing it unless there was some broader conspiracy against him afoot that Prigozhin was a part of. What do you think?
Well, yeah, Putin released a statement today about Prigozhin, just memorializing him, and he looks very sad in it, and he says that, you know, controversial figure, but always got the job done, was sort of what Putin was saying. Yeah, I don't.
Controversial figure.
Yeah. This guy was his chef. So, I mean, I think there's something personal, like a mutual respect between the two of them that I don't think Putin would have a motive to violate. Yeah.
He was a street criminal before that.
Yeah.
Although it's weird. I think he was raised in like an upper middle class family. Mm-hmm. So he's actually sort of a rich kid. And then somehow got into a life of crime and went to prison. And then he came out of prison. I don't know the exact sequence of events, but ended up becoming a caterer, started a catering business, and then somehow got connected to Putin and became Putin's chef. And from there, somehow parlays that into becoming the leader, the figurehead really, but the leader of the Wagner PMC. Which then, you know, becomes basically the de facto Russian army for a while.
Then again, being a chef for a major political figure is probably the most dangerous job on the planet.
Turns out.
Yeah.
Turns out. Oh, but that was an accident. They just ruled. There was an accident, Mr. Conspiracy Theorist.
Yeah.
Well, why would, yeah, man. That is kind of funny. That is a little bit shady. There's something shady there. Mm-hmm. But could it... Obama's chef we're talking about,
yeah.
and the Clinton chef, but Obama's chef, they just ruled it an accident.
Don't go swimming if you're a chef for a major political figure. Don't go swimming.
I would think it's more likely that there was something embarrassing that happened that they want to cover up, not something having to do with state secrets. But I don't know. Maybe he stumbled into some meeting, or no, maybe he saw, oh, well, this came out at exactly the time that we found out that Obama's gay.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always known that. We've all known.
I never did. That was a shocker. And it's funny that it was in that biography that's been out for 10 years, I think. The David Garrow biography. I believe that book's been out for a long time, but all of a sudden someone on Twitter discovered the passage in which Obama says that he fantasized constantly about men. Told his girlfriend this. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe this guy was a little too close to Barack. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. The big story. Who do you have for the Logan Paul Dylan Dennis fight?
Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
I want them both to be knocked unconscious, simultaneous, huge left hooks.
You want John Fury to
rush
the ring and knock them both unconscious?
Which has happened. I'm trying to remember. There's been at least one Muay Thai fight that ended that way. That was a really good fight too. Actually, my friend Joe Schilling, that's right. He and Simon, what's his face, did that. Huge. I want to see like simultaneous knockout because they're both malign characters in our culture from my values, for what I want to see. Logan Paul's getting less and less malign. Dylan Dennis, I mean, I know you're going to tell me. You're going to tell me that it's all a show. It's all a WWE. Dylan Dennis is just playing the GOAT. It's just promotional. They're just generating publicity for the fight, which might be at least partly true. Sure. I mean, I don't care though, because nonetheless, most of the people who are indulging in this thing, in which Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul are going to have a boxing match in October. It's the promotion that Logan Paul runs with his brother, Jake Paul. It's a boxing promotion. They put tons of publicity into it. Dylan Dennis is this washed up, formerly mediocre MMA fighter. I think he had 1 or 2 fights professionally.
He fought twice in Bellator, but he's known as a jiu-jitsu champion.
He's a jiu-jitsu specialist. He has no stand-up. He's going to get his ass kicked most likely. Doesn't matter. He became Conor McGregor's jiu-jitsu trainer and got involved in the Khabib shit in which they were saying racist stuff. Dylan Dennis and Conor McGregor were saying grotesquely racist shit about Khabib and his dad and his family, and now he and got into a fist fight with Khabib after the fight in the cage at the UFC. Now I don't even care if it's all a promotional stunt. I don't care. Logan Paul recently got engaged to some model, Nina Agdal, Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, like that type. And he's been putting pictures of her with her former boyfriends on Twitter and other pictures with her with men, and her saying things about sex in interviews about how she liked sex and just, calling her a whore and saying, look at what a loser you are, Logan Paul, for having a whore fiance. And what a whore, and what a whore, and what a whore. And here's a picture of Logan Paul looking through her pussy, because it's so stretched open. And are we 14 fucking years old? And it's not just, I don't mind. I love juvenile humor now and then. I love it. I love fart jokes. Love them. Dick jokes can be awesome. But do we want to live in a world in which we are shamed for what we do sexually when it's totally consensual and no one was harmed? Do we want to shame people for having... If you were a supermodel, would you have sex with one person? I mean, what did you expect her to do? She gets to have sex. She has the opportunity. If you had the opportunity to have sex with the most famous people on earth, would you do it? But we're shaming her for this. We're shaming her for promiscuity, which is what they did in the Victorian era Do we want to go back to that? And this is all this shaming, this slut shaming. Yeah, it's what it is being done by these bros who jerk off to porn all day long.
Well, it's funny. Dylan Dennis is posting pictures of himself with OnlyFans models as he's going to London. So
right,
yeah, he's promiscuous himself. But his argument is, I'm not marrying them, is what he's saying.
Right. I mean, listen, if you're going to be actual Puritans, do it. Great, and I'll respect you. We'll be enemies. We'll fight it out in the streets. But you know, I get it. I respect you. Mm-hmm. These cats are complete hypocrites. They're just like, what is, so all it does is just make everybody depressed about their own sexuality. Who comes out of this feeling good about themselves? Do you feel good about yourself shaming this woman for having sex with men in the past? Like, what is that for? I mean,
Well, I think it's more shaming Logan Paul for being a sucker and for marrying somebody who's obviously using him for his fame.
Okay, so Logan Paul, the Dazin, is it how they pronounce it? Dazin, D-A-Z-N. Dazin and Dylan Dennis, and that scene over there is adjacent to the right-wing Twitter. They're closer to right-wing Twitter than they are to the liberal establishment, right? They're kind of like on, I would say, on the edge of like right-wing Twitter.
It's hyper online people who are looking at this for entertainment.
And hyper online. Yeah, but it tends to be like the masculine bro dude, Joe Rogan. That's it. I mean, they're right next to Joe Rogan. So that's the problem, is that the political Twitter, and this is only matters if you're on Twitter. So if you're not on Twitter, you can stop listening. But
they are literally 14-year-old boys who are the audience for this fight.
That's my point. So I have noticed for many years now, and it's so depressing, and it's the worst thing about Twitter to me, is that political Twitter, the cultural center of gravity, is determined basically by like adolescent boys. You can just sort of feel that's like the central sort of normative structure, like kind of just the mass culture of political Twitter is adolescent boys. That's why they love to do mobs. That's why they love to throw insults. That's why they love to, talk about women's body counts all the time. It's this sort of insecure. It's also the incel. This is the incel world. The incel world is very angry at women because they won't fuck them. And so when they see Nina Agdal, the most beautiful woman, oh my gosh, in the world, and they see this guy, Logan Paul, oh my gosh, he's so rich and handsome and gets to fuck the most beautiful woman in the world. Oh my gosh, I hate him so. They cannot wait to get to sink their teeth into that one and to do everything they can to make that woman feel bad, which they probably even accomplished this time. This is like the rare opportunity the incel has to make a supermodel feel something. And they accomplished it. Quite likely. I can't imagine she's not unaffected by this. It's been a huge thing. It's been one of the main things people are talking about on political Twitter. And by the way, there have been several people, some of whom I know, who are kind of in our space on political Twitter, podcasters, who have said things that stun me about how what this shows is that Logan Paul's made some mistakes in his life. Like, that's what you're taking away from this, is that Logan Paul somehow made a mistake by marrying a woman who's had boyfriends before. This virgin fantasy is only possessed by virgins. There's no man who's sexually experienced who talks about having a virgin and expecting other men to only be married to a virgin. You won't find them. And if you do find them, they will be, from some Amish farm. Good luck. Anyway, I'm done.
Okay. But yeah, what you thought I would say is what I would say. This is one of the oldest storylines in WWE, where I guess the baby face who Logan tries to portray himself as has a female partner, and the heel exploits the female partner as a whore, like Sable, like we can go on forever. Miss Elizabeth.
Really? Is that actually is a common trope?
Oh, it's a trope. Yeah.
In wrestling?
In pro wrestling, yeah. It's
really calling your opponent's girlfriend a whore?
Yeah.
Really?
And,
okay. I didn't know that.
Big thing is like a love triangle, also, like between another major wrestler. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Okay. In that case, I will soften my critique a little bit. Although I still hate it. I hate it because you don't. I mean, if it's confined to the WWE, that's one thing.
Mhm.
But when it's all over the public square like this, it's just hideous.
Well, that's an indictment of the WWE for not having good storylines anymore. Because Logan Paul does work for WWE, and if they're smart, Nina Agdal would be the new Miss Elizabeth in the WWE, and there'd be a great storyline between them about this exact thing,
right?
And they would work it out really well.
Right.
But also, just look at like he's amassed hundreds of thousands of followers. Dylan Dennis has in weeks because of it. Yeah,
I know. That's what's depressing.
And the big thing is this fight was almost going to be ignored. The big fight was KSI against Tommy Fury. And that's the headlining fight. And now all the media buzz is about Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul because of the antics.
I know. Oh, I know. I will be even more interested in watching the fight than I was before because of it. No doubt. I have said this, I'll just continue to say it. Conor McGregor and Dylan Dennis should be barred from not just the UFC, not just Bellator, not just from DAZN. They should be barred from martial arts. They should not be allowed to, and I mean this, to participate in martial arts on any level. They have been proven they are not trustworthy, which you have to be in our sport. And it makes it dangerous for everyone. And to encourage that kind of behavior in martial arts is very dangerous. Actually, you cannot allow that. These guys, even if this is a put on, what he's doing now, clearly he's participated in stuff that wasn't just a put on, real violence, serious violence that is just, I'm sorry, it's not cool.
Well, the big incident was Conor McGregor throwing the dolly at the bus. And again, I don't think he intended for glass to shatter and for who was it? Michael Chiesa to get throat injury.
Yeah. And Rose Namajunas was sitting there too.
Yeah.
Well, of course he was. What do you mean? When you throw a steel dolly at a bus with big windows, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah. Again, I thought it would bounce out and it would be this big public thing, and you get
whatever. He should have gone to jail and he should be barred from the sport. I don't care. It's just clear as day to me. All right, man. Enough.
Yeah.
Sorry for my rants. I just get worked up about stupid shit. Anyway, we go hang out now at Unregistered Live, and you can join us too if you go to patreon.com right there. Patreon.com/unregistered. It's our hangout after Unreported. Michael and I go and talk to the folks, talk to the patrons for about an hour and a half. And you join up, you can join at any level, and you click on the URL that's in Patreon, and you'll be there in the Zoom room with us. So that's that. And look for big announcements coming up soon in the unregistered world. We're going to have courses, a whole slate of fall courses coming out, and new unregistered episodes will be coming out soon, and lots will be happening in the fall starting after Labor Day. So stay tuned for all of that. Michael, thank you for putting up with me, dude. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll see you soon.
Someone's got to do it.
Exactly. Someone. Thank you. Bye.